Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Life Overhaul podcast. I'm Julie Nygaard, host of the show and author of a book called Life Overhaul, What Are You Waiting For? And as you can see by the title of the podcast, I'm actually reading my book chapter by chapter for anybody that wants to follow along rather than buy the book. You can actually get a notebook and listen to the whole thing. I've recorded every chapter and put them up on the podcast. Normally what I do is interview people that have been through significant life overhauls so they can share their techniques and strategies with those of us who are trying to go through one. So hopefully it makes it a little bit easier. But I thought I'd just read the book because so many people are listening to things now rather than reading. So I'm doing chapter 12, which is my own story. This is the very last chapter in the book. If you've been following along, you notice I skipped chapter 11, which is other people's stories, because most of those are on the podcast. I don't feel like that's going to be really good listening because a lot of those stories, I already talked to those people. They're up. We can listen to their podcast if you're interested in what their story is. So not going to go back and re-record everything that I already talked to those people about. There's actually quite a few more stories in the book than there are on the podcast so far, because a lot of people responded. There's been a lot of major life overhauls in the world. One thing I really have liked about doing the podcast is discovering that people overhaul their lives at every age. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. And that was really reassuring to me because I always thought I was too late, kind of too old to go through the one that I'm going through right now, which is changing my career in my 50s. So hearing these other stories of people that are so much older, I was like, I'm so young. I can do this. And hopefully if you're older like I was, thinking about making a major life overhaul, you could be inspired by some of the stories as well. So chapter 12, the one I'm about to read, is called My Life-Changing Story. And it is about something that happened to me right after I started writing Life Overhaul. I almost died. So it might be hard for me to read this, but I'm going to do it because I want you to know what happened to me, and it's very interesting with the timing and everything. But it did catapult me forward into wanting to finish this book and get on with the other things that I'm going to be doing in life. So here we go, chapter 12, My Life-Changing Story. A week before my 56th birthday, an abscess near my tonsil broke and spewed poison up into the right side of my face. Prior to that, I had no symptoms, no idea that I even had an abscess, and I felt fine. I went from having a normal life to having a sore throat to having my jaw frozen shut from a massive infection in just 18 hours. The doctor missed the diagnosis twice over the next 3 days. She thought it was a simple sore throat. When I finally went to the emergency room on day 5, I was checked into the ICU and scheduled for emergency surgery because the doctor thought my throat was going to close. The entire surgery process was awful, by far the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced. I could barely eat for 8 days, and even when I was finally able to eat, I could still hardly open my mouth due to the infection. I ended up not being able to eat normally for almost 6 weeks. During the recovery process, I was so weak from not eating that the simplest motions were a struggle for weeks. Walking from one side of my house to the other took an enormous effort. It was strange. Everything I thought I had to do at my business was being done for me, and I experienced a feeling of being obsolete. Part of me was grateful that I had a team that could do it all, and the other part of me wondered what my purpose actually was. My manager jumped in and took care of everything at the shop. In fact, the entire staff was there, doing what they could to make it work while I was out. I had a major level of guilt over not being there, something I doubt I will ever get over. All I could do was sit and stare out the window at my house, but that gave me plenty of time to reflect on my life. Just over a year before this happened, I'd purchased a home with beautiful mountain views. As I sat there in my bedroom staring at the mountains, I realized that I'd barely lived in the house since I bought it. I only knew a few of my neighbors despite weekly neighborhood events that I couldn't attend because I was too busy. I also loved sunsets and I wanted to live in a place where I could see them every day, but I taught classes at my business many nights and had missed them. Overall, I didn't know anything about where I lived, and that was completely my own fault. Since all I could do was hang around my house, I decided to focus on healing, so I launched a major self-pampering program. I stopped setting the alarm, slept 8 to 9 hours a night, watched the sunrise, took baths, gave myself facials instead of working out every day. I listened to motivational videos, watched movies, and read things that were interesting to me rather than things I thought I had to read. I checked in with the office daily, returned a few emails, and eventually managed to take short walks outside each day. In the evenings, I watched every sunset, witnessing extraordinary colors that had been there all along while I worked somewhere else. I also cried almost every day. I couldn't comprehend the fact that the universe had almost killed me. I took it personally because the whole thing was such an anomaly. An unknown abscess breaks and spews poison into my face. I go to a doctor who completely misses the diagnosis twice. And then I end up in the emergency room fighting for my life. There were just too many things that lined up incorrectly for me to believe that this was an accident. I'd always thought that I was working together with a higher power to create positive change. This entire event was like getting punched in the face by a good friend for no reason. I was mad, and I couldn't understand why it happened. Even though I'd already started my life overhaul on my terms, I decided to step up the process. I was afraid if I didn't get totally focused, I'd be brought down again. Now I had to set about creating a plan that would be good enough for God or whatever the higher power was up there who was smacking me around. I didn't trust the whole process. What if I kept doing it wrong? What if I messed up again? Would I be wiped off the planet? Crying seemed to be the only thing I was capable of. In truth, that was a weird post-event strategy for me. I never cried before. I was always Miss Tough. In fact, I hardly felt anything, good or bad. As I reflected on this new crybaby self I was becoming, I slowly started to get the picture. This book, Life Overhaul, What Are You Waiting For?, is part of my journey for changing my life. At the time of this printing, I'm still in the middle of it all. And for the record, this is what I'm in the process of creating. Years 1 to 3, work on jazz piano skills and truly learn to sing, create and perform original music with extraordinary musicians. Years 3 to 25-ish, travel around the world as a musician, singing in beautiful venues, exploring the world wherever I am during the day and performing at night. Through it all, I hope to keep my chocolate business going on the side, and although I haven't quite figured this part out yet, you can check it out at thechocolatetherapist.com to see how it's going. What are you waiting for? As I was interviewing numerous people about their life overhauls, one message seemed to repeat itself again and again. If you don't initiate your own plan for change when you need to, life often presents an alternative plan, usually one you don't like, and does it for you. So many of us are afraid to make a major change, but the real fear should come from not making the change. And the true value of pursuing your calling is that you honor yourself by doing what you authentically love. If there's a coincidence anywhere in the world, it's that God, or whatever you refer to as the higher power, wants exactly the same thing for you that you want for yourself. Essentially, that means you can't make a mistake by living your dreams and doing what you want to do. Go do it relentlessly, with perseverance and focus until it's real. Whatever you're attempting, complete overhaul or minor adjustment, I sincerely wish you the greatest success, and I hope in some way this book has helped you. All right, that's my story. That's what happened. Crazy times. But in retrospect, since I did so many interviews with other people that have gone through major life overhauls, and hopefully will do a lot more, I realized that a lot of people have major things happen to them that they have to navigate through. It kind of minimalized my own issue. I'm like, well, hey, I'm alive. I made it. Why was I in such a tizzy? So it gave me some perspective. And again, I do really wish you the greatest success. Thanks for listening to the book. Hope you enjoyed it. You can purchase it on Amazon if you want, and also on our website, thechocolatetherapist.com. It's available there as well. And I will catch you on the next episode, which will hopefully be with someone who has done a massive overhaul in their life, navigated through it successfully, and can give us some of their strategies so that we can all do whatever they did to get through it.